Hello, and welcome to
Papi Approved Movies.
My name is Papi.
And I'm Natalie.
In our podcast, we will review and critique my favorite PG-13 movies.
Movies that I wasn't allowed to watch until I turned 13.
Every week, Natalie and I will watch a new PG-13 movie.
And I'll see if Papi's movies live up to the hype.
Which, of course, they will.
Today we're going to be watching Under the Same Moon.
Before we begin, there will be spoilers. If you haven't seen the movie and don't want it to be spoiled,
Press pause and come back when you're finished. Now, Papi, tell me the deets on this movie.
Alright. Under the Same Moon came out in 2007. The runtime of 1 hour and 36 minutes. It's not streaming anywhere. We had to rent it on Amazon. It was written by Ligaya Villalobos and directed by Patricia Riggin. The main stars are Eugenio Derbez, Kate del Castillo, and Adrian Alonso.
It's funny to think. Actually, it's not that hard to think about. But, this whole movie is all acting from, one little kid. A lot of it is just the kid.
Yeah. So,
usually when you see movies, there will be, a main person. And then there will be, maybe there's a little kid elsewhere. And then, they have a role. But it's not huge. In Grown Ups almost. Where all the kids didn't really have huge parts in acting. This child is a full-on actor, almost like that of a Disney star or something.
That's true. And it's funny because the main stars are in order backwards. So on IMDb, the first person on the list is Eugenio Derbez. He comes in halfway through the movie. He's not even in the beginning of the movie. Kate del Castillo, she's kind of like the second main actress, the mom. And the kid's the third build. And he's the main character. Yeah, most of the story's about him. And he was the most lovable character in the whole movie.
Yeah.
But he was third build. Alright, fun fact, this is one of Abuelita's favorite movies. We were watching it in celebration of her birthday, which is this week. What do you think, Nat?
I thought it was a great movie.
A great movie. Finally, got to something you liked.
I loved it. One thing, it wasn't a plot twisty movie though, but I was often shocked by some of the parts. I definitely thought that I thought that he was gonna fall in love with the mom. Because, they had signs of that. And because of him being oh, she's so pretty and, all that stuff.
Yeah, I mean, you would think that's how it would work, right?
Yeah.
In a typical Hollywood movie, that they would end up together. Hi, this is my friend Enrique. He helped me. And she would look at him and go, I love you, right? Yeah.
Then I also thought that Paco was gonna be evil.
Oh, yes. Okay.
Me and Sophia both were ew, he's icky, he's evil vibes, I don't like him. But then he was totally fine in the end.
Yeah, he was a respectable dude.
And I was that doesn't seem right. He didn't necessarily do anything to make me feel he was evil, yet he had this evil vibe about him. I thought he just trying to take advantage of her. That's what I thought he was trying to do, first of all. And then second of all, he said something that isn't even that big of a deal, but I was oh, that's another sign he's evil. Where he's in the car with her, and he's I like quiet girls, not mute, because he's not talking, and I'm he must be evil. That's such an evil person thing to say.
What do you rate it?
I give it a 5 stars.
5-star movie. There you go. All right, you and Grandma have the same taste in movies.
Why don't we get into the recap then?
Okay. The movie begins with Rosario waking up and getting ready for the day. Carlitos, her son, is doing the same thing. We eventually realize that they are not together. Carlitos is in Mexico and Rosario is in the U.S. I thought this was a really good scene because you think they're both getting up in the same area.
Yeah.
They're both getting up, they're going to be together. And then when you see her in with skyscrapers in the background, you think she's in LA. And then you see him in what you would think Mexico looks like. I'm that was kind of a punch in the face. I thought that was good cinema right there. They made you think they were together, but they're not.
Yeah, I don't remember that scene, so.
I loved it. I thought that was one, that and then the scene at the end. It started with really, really good cinema, and it was really good cinema. And we'll go over the end scene, because that was my favorite scene in the whole movie. Every Sunday at 10 a.m., they talk to each other on payphones. Rosario is saving up money to get a lawyer so she can send for Carlitos to come to the U.S. They've been apart for 4 years. She describes to him her location, and he can visualize it.
He's only turning 9, so she's been gone for almost half of his life.
Yeah, definitely. He lives with his grandma Benita, who's sick in coffee. In the U.S., Rosario works 2 jobs, one as a housekeeper and another as a nanny, and she makes and sells dresses on the side to make even more money.
I feel like now, being like, oh, you work on the side to sell dresses would be like, she would be on her Etsy shop selling her dresses, and then people would like spend so much money on them. I think a lot of those jobs, like selling dresses in America, could be worth so much more money, because then people will be like, I found this really cute shop on Etsy, hashtag small business, hashtag everything. So that would be kind of cool to see, like, if she was able to do that.
Anyways, at her first job, Paco, a security guard, shows interest in her.
Creepy Paco.
Her friend Alicia says, go for it, but Rosario isn't interested. In Mexico, Carlitos works for a coyote and a family friend named Senora Carmen. My mom's name, Carmen, hey!
Whoa!
A Chicano brother and sister named Martha and David offer to bring people to the U.S. for money. Senora Carmen dismisses them as idiots who would be caught immediately. They leave their number with Carlitos.
This part, I was a little confused at first, because maybe she can already tell that they'd be bad people or that they're, like, inexperienced, but I thought it was kind of like, she was just like, you can't do anything because you're, like, American, like, you're white, so you can't do anything.
Yeah.
So I don't know if it was, like, her judging them by their race or just, like, her judging them because they seemed like little children.
I think it was because they're kids, and then they're all nervous when they were talking to her, and they were all freaking out.
And maybe, like, they don't know Spanish, so, like, they don't know...
Right. You're like, what are you going to do?
Like, how to talk to people and all that.
The next day, Carlitos wakes up and finds his grandma dead. He decides to leave to be with his mother in the U.S. He gets her address from a letter she sent him. Carlito calls Martha and pays them to take him over the border. He hides under a fake compartment in their van, almost suffocating from the heat. They get to the border, but the van gets towed because it has expired tags and many parking tickets. Carlitos is inside the van and is taken to the impound lot. Were you afraid he was going to die right there?
At first, I thought 2 things that were going to kill him. First, I thought he was locked into that case. Like, I thought they locked the chest.
Under the chair?
So I thought, like, oh, he's not going to be able to get out of that. And then I didn't really think this one through, but I was like, oh, the car is locked. He's not going to be able to go back. But, like, obviously you can open it from the inside.
From the inside, yeah. No, that makes sense. All right. Rosario is going home from her nanny job with the Snyders when Paco comes to give her a ride. Kind of like a sneak move. She didn't ask him for a ride, but he comes to try to give her a ride, right? So, like,
yeah,
he's making a move. Okay, that's a little creepy. I can see that.
He was pushy, I guess.
A little bit pushy.
Anti-Paco squad.
They talk about how miserable she is without Carlitos, and he offers to help her.
I just felt he was evil. Like, in my heart, I was like, he's evil.
I don't know. I don't see it. Like, I don't see any, other than him being just a super nice guy. He, like, says hi to her, and he offers to give her a ride. I don't know. I don't see how, I guess you guys got the creepy vibe. Maybe they try to lead you that way, but I don't.
Because Sophie felt that, too. I just thought he was trying to take advantage of her. Because he was like, you know, I have papers, and I could help you out. So you just need to marry me real quick.
Poor Paco. Poor Paco.
He's evil.
Who happens to be the best guy in the whole show. He's the nicest man there is out of all of them.
I disagree.
And I'll go over why I think so.
There's the other lady that's nicer.
Who?
The lady that saves the little boy.
Oh, okay. All right, we'll get to her. You think she's nicer? All right. At night, Carlitos gets out of the van and leaves the impound. Unfortunately, he unknowingly drops his wallet with his money. He realizes that when he gets to the bus stop and cannot buy a ticket, he runs into a drug addict, and he offers to pay him $100 to take him to the impound lot to go get his wallet. When they get there, the van is gone, and they can't find the money. The druggie gets angry and tries to sell Carlitos to the human traffickers. Luckily, a woman named Reina steps in. She pays off the druggie and takes Carlitos home with her.
See, she's nicer.
She's a nice one.
I did think it was kind of interesting how they never really said he was a drug addict or, like, someone addicted to drugs, but they, like, showed signs.
Well, she said, buy your drugs. Go get your drugs.
Yeah, but like initially, like they're driving in the car and then like they zoom into his hand, which has like bruises from like injections and stuff. And like they show his like hands are like tapping nervously, that he's having trouble like without his drugs or whatever.
Okay. I can see that. Back in LA, Rosario is fired from her job with Mrs. Mackenzie because she wants to try someone new. When Rosario asks for her pay, Mrs. Mackenzie says no. And if she has a problem, she can call the police.
It doesn't even make sense, though, because when Rosario asked, like, oh, what did I do wrong? She was like, you didn't do anything wrong.
Remember, she did. She said, change the plants in the pots. And she said, oh, can I do it tomorrow morning? I don't have any time today. I have to go to my second job. And then she's like, can't you just do it real quick? And so that's what made her angry, because she didn't do exactly what she wanted her to do. And that's why she fired her.
That's kind of a dumb reason.
That's the dumbest reason.
She was going to do it anyways, though. So, like, if your plants are not potted today, then is it really that big of a deal?
Well, to her it was. And she had the power to abuse this woman and fire her, so. Anyway, she knows that she can't call the police, so she ends up stealing her money.
She was definitely evil.
Yeah. At Reina's house, Carlitos meets Leonardo and many other migrant workers who live and eat there. She feeds them, and they all watch a football game together. So she's kind of like this mother who feeds them. I imagine they give her money, to live there and to do that.
Almost like avoiding school or something.
Yeah, in a way, right? Leonardo and a few of the guys are leaving the next day to do migrant work all the way to California. Carlitos will hitch a ride with them and go to LA. The next morning, a tomato farmer takes Leonardo and the guys for work. They pick up a grumpy guy named Enrique. At the tomato farm, there's an immigration raid. Everyone runs or is arrested. Enrique hides, and so does Carlitos.
Enrique hid where I thought Carlitos was gonna hide. Because he like rolled like a little plant bin over to hide in between like the little tracks. And like when Carlitos like ran by and like got out, I was like, why don't you just hide there? But then like he hid elsewhere.
Yeah.
But then someone else used the hiding spot, so I was like, okay, good job.
Yeah. So you were smart. You would have been safe because you would have found that spot before him. Leonardo waits for Carlitos but has to leave before he's arrested. After the coast is clear, Enrique and Carlitos come out. Carlitos wants to walk with Enrique, who wants nothing to do with him. Carlitos tags along anyway. They walk for hours and eventually hitch a ride with some musicians. And they played a song too, right? So,
yeah, they played a song for him about him getting back to his mom.
Yeah. In Tucson, Enrique tells him to get lost, and Carlito gets the clue and walks away. Then Enrique sees some gangsters about to attack Carlitos, and he pretends to be his dad to protect him. They need money, so Carlitos gets them both a job in a restaurant. The restaurant owners love Carlitos. Not so much Enrique. That night in the hotel, Carlito tells Enrique about his father, Oscar. Enrique gets the idea to ask Carlitos' father for a ride to LA. Rosario cannot find work in LA and she's getting desperate. She and Alicia see Paco in a laundromat, and she decides to take him up on the offer for them to be together. Carlitos meets his dad and they talk. They have a heart-to-heart, and Carlito tells him that he and Rosario will forgive him if he helps them out. Oscar agrees to take him to LA. Sadly, that night, Oscar stands him up. Enrique tells him it will be okay, and they'll go to LA together.
I don't know why he didn't just, like, give him $50.
That's better than not showing up, right?
Yeah. Or even when they were at lunch, he was like, if he was like, I'm going to be honest, I'm not going to do anything for you. Here's your lunch and here's, like, $50.
I wonder if he ever had the intention of going. He cries at the lunch.
Yeah.
He gets emotional, like, kind of like, I blew it.
Just shame. Just the feeling of shame.
Embarrassed. But then you would think that he feels something. So why not go through with it? Or if you can't take him to LA, which is not easy, right? You can't just drive someone to LA from Texas. But here's $100 to take a bus. Or even more, like, here's $200 to take a plane ride. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I don't wonder if he ever had the intention of actually going through with it. Or he just lied to him just to make him leave him alone.
I don't know. But he felt remorse. What did he gain about saying yes to go and eat to him lunch and then feeling sad and then, like, not helping him at all?
And he bought lunch. Carlitos paid for the lunch.
Yeah.
He paid, he's like, I'll pay for this. And so, I don't know, maybe that's when he felt shame.
Like, what did he gain from saying yes? He wasn't going to do anything anyways. So why did he say yes?
maybe at that moment, Carlitos was happy and he like looked at him and said, oh, my dad's awesome. Like he got that recognition of being someone great for a second.
Maybe.
Even though he wasn't great, he was garbage who left his son hanging.
And it's super sad because they show that they're like, that he's eating the burger, right? And they like do everything the same. Like they both take out the tomatoes and they both put on ketchup to like one half or something like that.
They always do that in movies to go like, you are my son. Like, yeah, they always say like, we're the same person. You're obviously my son because we do the same things. Even though you and I would eat a burger together, we're related. You're my daughter, and we don't eat anything the same. So, we wouldn't put our food out. At the same time.
You, and Mom and Sophia all eat burgers in different ways.
In different ways,
and
right?
different types of burgers.
So maybe none of us are related. Anyways, so Enrique and Carlitos get a bus ticket, and off they go. At the wedding party, not only did Paco accept her as someone to marry, they're gonna get married like within 2-3 days, like it's immediately.
Yeah, that seems like he wants something. Because why would he rush it?
So what do you think men want from women? Let's go. You think a man's evil. What does an evil man want from a woman? I know the answer to that.
Maybe he wants like money or something. Maybe he wants her $2,000 or something.
She has no money.
She's saving money.
She's broke. What does an evil man want from a woman? If you don't know, you'll learn today. Are you just embarrassed to say it, or you really have no idea?
Well, I don't exactly know what he would want, but I just thought he was evil.
All evil men want from women. What do you think?
I don't know.
Sex. Evil men want sex from women.
Maybe he wants to kidnap his child or sell her to the black market.
How does that make any sense? He wants to sleep with her. If you have any doubt about a man's intentions, the default is that he wants to sleep with you. Okay, Natalie? When you get into college, when you're a young woman.
But then he wouldn't marry her.
Exactly. Nobody wants to marry a woman unless they care about them or they want to be with them. She changes her mind at the wedding, gets cold feet. And what does Paco do? He throws a party for her. So she says, I'm going back to Mexico. And he's like, all right, this is no longer a wedding party. This is a farewell party. And then they end up dancing together and having a good time. I would have kicked her out of the house. I would have been like, excuse me, what? You're not going to marry me now? Can you please leave? Thank you. And don't take any cake on the way out. Just go. Paco's a hero. Paco for president.
No. Anyways, you should call Sophia down and say, did you think that Paco was evil?
Sophia's not in this podcast? I'm sorry.
Yeah.
Rosario says that she's going to go back to Mexico, and Paco's cool about it. Then Mrs. Snyder comes into the party, and she connects her with Senora Carmen, who's been trying to contact her. Senora Carmen tells her about her mother passing away, and how Carlitos is coming to her. Rosario is devastated and wants to leave for Mexico immediately. She thinks that he's going to get caught and get deported right back to Mexico. Yeah. That, to me, is a mistake. If she knows that Carlitos is coming to the U.S., why would you leave the U.S.?
Exactly.
Yeah, that always threw me off.
Just wait it back. And if he's going to get deported, wouldn't he try and find his family back there? And then
Well, yeah, she'd be there. So if he gets deported, then it works. Because he's going to go back home.
But I'm saying, just stay there in case he comes, and then if he got deported, he'd go back. Then someone would call her and say, oh, he's back here. You can come back to Mexico now.
Carlitos and Enrique arrive in L.A. They realize that the address is a P.O. box. They don't actually have a real address of where Rosario lives. They don't know where to go. Then Carlitos remembers all the details of the phone booth Rosario calls from every Sunday. They traverse the city looking for a correct phone booth, surrounded by a laundromat, a mural, a party store, and a Domino's pizza. They go to dozens of phone booths and find nothing.
But does it have a Domino?
They stop in a park and fall asleep on a bench. The next morning, Paco takes Rosario to the bus station, and she kisses him goodbye. Rosario's the villain. She's the bad one. She tells him, I don't want to marry you anymore. And then she kisses him as she leaves. What's up? That dude's in love with her. What do you expect?
Yeah, I guess she's kind of bad too.
She gets second thoughts and remembers that it's Sunday. She thinks about going to the phone booth instead, taking the bus to Mexico. There's
one scene, though, where it's sad, where she's sitting on the bench and then he and Enrique walk by. And then it's oh, that's just annoying. They're just messing with us now.
Yeah, every movie has that, right? Where you're looking for someone and they walk right next to each other. They don't see each other. I hate those kind of things. I didn't even mention it.
Because you could tell Cause later on he like only sees her head, and then he's like, "Oh my god, it's my mom!" Like you saw her head while you walked by the bench. Like you would have obviously known it was your mom if you could recognize her at a phone booth. Turned around. It's like you're just messing with us.
You know, I mean, that's what I'm trying to insane. The next morning, Enrique wakes up and goes to get breakfast. When he gets back, the police have come and are talking to Carlitos, about to arrest him. Enrique thinks about abandoning Carlitos and running away. Carlitos even backs him up and says he doesn't know who that guy is. Enrique then gets second thoughts and attacks the police officer. He gets the police to chase after him so Carlitos can get away.
This was kind of their fault too, though, because they didn't even hide. They just slept on a bench in a public, like, park. Although, I don't know if there's very many places to hide anywhere, and I guess, like, wherever you can sleep is better. But
yeah,
like,
I mean, they were careless. They shouldn't have slept out in the open.
But it really was in the middle of, like, a super public area right next to a small street that any car could go by and, like, report them, or even just the police drive by. Like.
And if Enrique hadn't left, they probably would have let him alone. The fact that they went up to him was because they saw a little kid by himself.
Yeah.
So, you should have woke him up and was like, let's go get breakfast.
Yeah, or, like, just walk with me, because it's, like, not... He really just left him on the bench alone.
Well, he was sleeping. It was only going to be, like, 5 minutes.
That's true.
Enrique's arrested, but he smiles knowing that Carlitos is safe.
He cared about his safety earlier when he protected him from those people trying to rob him. So wouldn't you think to protect him by not leaving him out in the open with, like, crazy people on a bench?
It's in a park bench early in the morning. No one's there.
But evil people could be there.
Nah, I wouldn't have thought to do that. He's been by himself all the time.
Yeah,
kids walking around. I don't think what he did was wrong in there. Maybe you should have woke him up. They were a little careless. You know, the fact that Enrique gets arrested kind of solves the Paco problem, right?
Yeah.
Because then there's 2 male leads. And was Enrique going to fall in love with Rosario? No, that never happened because he ended up getting arrested. Unfortunately, probably deported back to his country.
Which is, like, unfair because he finally gets to be the good person in the story. And, like, of course he has to go and get arrested because he changes. And Carlitos, like, realizes and recognizes, like, oh, I need to save him first. Because he's like, no, I don't know that guy. He's not with me.
They back each other up. So everybody kind of tries to save themselves. Marta and David, they never tell the Border Patrol that there's a kid in the car. They should have said it. Because what if he would have died in that car? He should have said, hey, stop the tow truck. There's a human inside. But then they would have got in trouble, so they never did.
Yeah.
Leonardo drove away when the police were coming. And he left Carlitos there. He waited for him, but then he couldn't wait anymore because if he waited longer, he would have been arrested. So he took off too. And Enrique was going to do the same thing because he looked down and he started walking away. Mm-hmm. Then he changed his mind and did the right thing and didn't save himself. He sacrificed himself for the little boy. So.
And in the end, the little boy saved himself again. He was waiting for Enrique and was like, I'm going to wait for you. I'm not going to let them arrest you without me. And then he saves himself.
Carlito finally stops running and looks around. He sees the mural, the laundromat, the party store, and the Domino's pizza.
He finally found one with the real Domino's. That was always the kicker, that there was a pizza place. It just wasn't Domino's.
Never Domino. He finds a phone booth and his mother is there. They call to each other from the other sides of the street. But they can't get to each other because the traffic's too heavy. They wait at the crosswalk and finally the light turns green. The end.
That was a very cinematic scene. And the most emotional and sad and, like, crazy thing that could be in the movie was not in the movie. They didn't show them, like, hugging each other and all that. But that wasn't necessary because they were already reunited. And just the green light changing was enough for that moment. Yeah,
no, I agree. I think that was the part of the cinematic part that I really loved. You don't see them embrace. You don't see them get together. You just see the green light turn green, yeah. And I thought that was really good because the hug is never going to be as beautiful as not seeing it.
Yeah.
Like, you're going to picture it.
It'll never have the real emotion that could be in that scene. It won't have the impact
that you're going to make up in your mind how they get together. Then also, if you think about it, what does the green light in a crosswalk look like?
Someone walking over?
Right. So it's like, you know, a little bit about the whole story, about immigration. Like, it's free. You're free to cross the street. You're free to walk over. I thought that was a beautiful way to end the movie. I thought it was a beautiful message to add to the story. And it's probably one of my favorite things. No, it's my favorite part of the movie, but it's one of my favorite things I've ever seen in any movie.
And it was like kind of realistic, because how many times can you just like run across the street to reunite with someone? Like, I bet 50% of the time there would be some like cars going by.
Yeah.
Like, the intrusive thought is always like, what if he gets hit by a car right now? But like,
well, that was Mom. She was freaking out. She was like, oh no, she's worried that he's gonna get hit by a car because he's gonna run across the street.
Yeah.
Yeah. And they're like looking at each other with this hope to see each other, to like finally reunite, and then they just couldn't. It was like delayed.
Yeah.
Yeah, beautiful. I love that end. All right, so could this movie still be made today?
Yeah, I think so for the most part. I didn't see anything really wrong with this movie. I guess the whole thing about the little boy like getting taken advantage of by like a drug dealer and about to be like sold as like a sex slave is like a little harsh. I don't know if they would have that in a movie now.
Right.
But they're bad people. They're supposed to be bad people. It's not like they're just going about their life and like that was just seen as normal. It's to show that he was being saved and that it was almost all over for him, you know? So I don't really know if they would take that out.
I think this story, which is a love story, but not the common love story of boy meets girl, girl loves boy and all that. It's more of the story of a mother and a son. Uh-huh. I think that's eternal.
And it's definitely a love story you don't see very often.
Definitely. And then secondly, the story of immigration and the difficulties that it entails, the politics behind it, the exploitation of migrant workers from the fact that they're not able to be protected by police, or that are in constant danger like human trafficking or burglary or just unsafe lives. That story is also eternal, sadly. I think it is a timeless tale that I would say didn't age poorly at all. If anything, in our current climate of the polarization of our country and how we feel about immigration, I think it resonates now as much as it did in 2007 when the movie came out.
Yeah, I don't think that any of the themes would age poorly or any of that.
No, me neither. All right, does it pass the Bechdel test?
No.
No, it doesn't pass the Bechdel test. All right, Bechdel test is a test to check for female representation in movies. There are 3 criteria. Criterion number 1, are there 2 or more named females?
Yes. There's the mom and the grandma and the lady that ended up calling the mom and telling her son.
So we have Rosario and her mom, Benita. We have Doña Carmen, not Doña Carmen, Señora Carmen. Doña Carmen's my mom. There's Mrs. Snyder, there's Mrs. Mackenzie, and there's Alicia, her best friend. A lot of female characters. Do any of them talk to each other? It's criteria number 2.
I'm sure that she talks with her best friend in LA. Mm-hmm. And then she talks to her mother, her grandmother, the grandmother. Obviously, I don't actually know many other scenes, but like you would know that these women talk to each other.
All right. And last but not least, do they talk to each other about anything other than a man?
No.
Okay. I think I disagree with you. You don't have any conversations where they have...
No, because when she talks to her friend, she's talking about Paco. And then when she talks to the lady, she's talking about her son who went over the border on his own.
Right. There's a couple of conversations that I think would pass the Bechdel test, but I'll let you decide whether you agree or whether or not. They talk about dresses and money. Rosario and Alicia talk about making the dresses, how much money she's saving to get a lawyer and doing all that stuff. There's also the conversation that Carmen has with Martha, where she asks if she can send people to the U.S.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. I don't really know about that scene, because although they're talking to each other, they're kind of talking through Carlos or Carlitos, and then also she's talking to both of them. She's not just talking to the girl, she's also talking to the guy.
Right. I don't know. So I'll let you say. Do you say no, it doesn't pass it?
I don't think so. Although the dress scene, I think it might be attached to other conversations too, which that's always something that I think about, like for the Bechdel test, that if they talk about a man earlier in the conversation, then the conversation continues and later on they talk about stuff that's not about a man.
Okay.
Because earlier in the conversation, I think they were talking about Paco. About like, oh, he's a nice guy. Or
all right, so I'm going to go ahead and give it the negative sound. That it doesn't pass the Bechdel test. I want to go with you. You're the expert here. I'll stay in my lane. I disagree with you 1,318%. But you're the expert, so I'm going to follow your lead. Unless someone asks me about it personally, and then I will tell them what I think. All right, is there anything else?
No.
All right. I'm happy we watched this movie. Like I said, it's his grandma's birthday week. Her birthday is on Thursday, so... And the movie's in Spanish. The whole movie's in Spanish. It had English subtitles, so I had some English moments. So
only a few when they were in LA.
Only a few when they were in LA. Yeah. Thank you for tuning in to Papi Approved Movies.
If you like this episode, make sure to subscribe, rate, and review on your favorite podcast app.
We put out an episode every Monday.
If you like to see extra podcast content, we also have a TikTok at Papi Approved Movies. So please go and like all of our videos and follow us over there.
If you want to suggest a movie for us to watch and critique,
email us at papiapprovedmovies@gmail.com.
That's papiapprovedmovies@gmail.com. No spaces, no caps.
We'll try our best to get to your suggestions.
And remember, it has to be PG-13.
Next week, we're watching The Count of Monte Cristo, so I hope you join us.
I'm Papi.
And I'm Natalie.
See you next time.
Bye.